Hi, Orange Girl here with another layout for Paper Issues and the Mix It Up Monday segment. This is the September 2016 edition. I've already applied gesso that you just saw there, and this is the punch, one of the many punches that I'm going to be using today for this technique. This is just an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. I'm not actually going to use this as my background. The challenge today is I'm going to create something on here, and then I'm going to cut it out, and then I'm going to use that on my layout. So I'm going to use this Love Always collection for much of my layout, and so by Coco Vanilla Studio. And so I am trying to base my colors on that, and it matches that photograph of my daughter quite nicely. She's wearing kind of that same color of orange. It was the day after she lost her first tooth, so she was pretty excited in the photograph. So I'm going to be using a mixture of acrylic paint, that's what that is right there, with water and some watercolors, as you can see there. And I'm going to start with the pink. And I'm going to add pinks and kind of oranges and salmon kind of type colors. I do add this, what I kind of thought was going to be gray. I think it's Mr. Huey's Pinstripe or something like that it's called. It looks too brown gray instead of black gray to me. So I end up covering that up. The part that's the most gray there, I don't even use that part of the paper because remember, I'm going to cut this up. So now I'm using two different colors of orange to kind of make that peachy color. Adding water, lots of water. I actually end up spraying the whole thing with water at some point. I'm just using some more acrylic paint, and you're going to see me do layer after layer of colors until I get to something that I like. Sometimes I'm splattering, sometimes I'm using that technique. Right here, I'm just spraying right on the paper. I did use a lot of water, so if you're going to do something like this, you'll want to use the gesso. It just helps protect that paper a little bit and gives you a little bit of time to move some of that color around the page. If you don't use the gesso, it just soaks right in. So you just don't get as much flexibility with moving the colors around. So you can see I'm just kind of going back and forth between the orange and the two different colors of orange, and the pink. The acrylic paints and the watercolors. Here I'm adding some splatters. I feel like I'm getting close to being where I want to be, but you'll also see me, I'm doing a lot of these splatters and then I'm wiping things off with my paper towel because all the colors in this Coco Vanilla collection are pretty muted. And so, although I do end up adding some brighter colors to my layout, I kind of wanted to start with these more muted pinks and peachy oranges. So I'm almost done with my background here. And like I said, this isn't really my background, but it's like the process I use when I'm creating a background, like in an art journal page or even for a layout. Lots of splatters, lots of different layers of color. And then I feel like I'm done. So now I'm just going to let that dry. I was just checking the colors there. Once it's dry, I'm going through, and I have a few different sizes of, I think that was a 1-inch punch, 1.5-inch punch. I use that 1/2-inch punch, and I'm just cutting out a whole bunch of circles. So that's the challenge. You make something, then you cut it out. You can use punches like I did. You can use a die cut machine. You can use scissors, whatever you want to make something using any kind of paint or whatever that you'd like, any sort of mixed media, and then go ahead and cut it up. Okay, so now I'm just kind of going through the collection, and there's just so many things to choose from, and I'm trying to make decisions here. Do I put mixed media in the background or don't I? And so on and so forth. So I ended up just taking a break from it, and I decide I'm going to use these. I've cut this off the main sheet of thickers. I believe this comes in the Amy Tangerine collection. It says All Smiles, and I thought it was just perfect. And I wanted to add a little bit of color so it wouldn't fade into the white background. And I'm not super happy with the color that I added because it's a little too bright and a little too orange. It's not peachy enough. So now I'm adding a little bit of a darker color of kind of red just to mute the orange a little bit. That doesn't work for me. So I go back and I grab see, you can see I'm trying to make decisions. This happens a lot while I'm working on this layout. I sped up a lot of this because I had to change things up quite a bit, but I really do like the end result. So now I'm using a gelato that I cannot even tell you what color it is, but it is um, kind of a peachy color, kind of salmon, almost. It has a little bit of pink in it, and it's pearly. It has a pearl kind of glittery piece to it. And I like that a lot better. It's the right color, but it's just a little too, it needs more white. So luckily there's a white gelato, and I'm just adding, you wouldn't have to use a white gelato, you could use gesso, you could use white paint, whatever. The reason that I didn't just use the orange that I used for the circles that I made was because, oh, okay, so wait, I'll come back to that. See what I just did here? You maybe can't see it on camera, but I just sprayed and there's a bunch of overspray. And I really was thinking I was going to focus all on that side, and now there's just way too much color, so I just got rid of it. I just sewed another piece of paper, and I will use that for something else. And that's one of the things that with this technique that I'm asking you to do today, which is create something and then cut it up, you can do that with your mistakes. So if you make something, use it for something else. Now, I don't know if you just saw that, but I just threw a little hissy fit there because I got some blue over on the right side. So everything is just kind of, are you kidding me? Through this whole thing. I take the sound out so that I can do the overdubbing of my voice, and I said seriously so many times as I was making this layout. So I decide that I just want that blue in the background. But then I decide, no, I think I need some more. So I pretty much covered up everything that I'd made, and I knew that I needed to add a little bit more of that orange in there. I wasn't happy with just the blue. So what you're seeing is me doing that same sort of idea that I did with my circle paper that I made, and now I'm just adding it right to my background, just like I do usually. Lots of splatters. And I am wiping it off with a paper towel a lot. The reason that I'm doing that is because I want it to be a little bit more muted. And that blue is pretty bright. Most of the blue gets covered up. And that's my blue around the outside because I feel like everything has to have a frame right now. I'm not really sure why. So now I'm gluing everything down. And you can see that I did add a few more sparkles off camera. Not sparkles, silly me. I added a few more splatters off camera, and I've started to get into the embellishments, and now the sun's in the way, but I'm trying to show you that I did do some stitching on each of the circles. Okay, so this next part I sped up really, really fast because this is another one of my great ideas that I had that just would not work. So I'm working with some thread here, and I wanted to put a circle of thread around the back behind my layers. It doesn't work. So I sped this up as fast as I could speed it up. But I wanted you to see that, you know, sometimes when we do things, it doesn't work. Okay, so back to the title. When I was creating that title and I didn't use the same pink color, I'm sorry, not pink, goodness gracious. I didn't use the same orange color that I used on those circles because if you remember, to do that I used watercolors, and the watercolors wouldn't work on those thickers. So I had to use something like gelatos. So that's why I didn't do the easy thing and just use the same color. But I kind of like that it's a different shade, and I think it does match. You can see it sitting there now, and I am still messing with that. You guys, I messed with this, I don't know, probably 20 minutes. I don't really know how long, but my goodness. Then I went and I got some twine, some white twine. I thought, oh, well, maybe it's just too hard. Nope, that didn't work. And so I almost have it there, and then it was like too perfect in some places. And here I even glued, and then finally I'm just like, mess, no, get it off here. Now I'm just going to put my thread behind stuff like I always do because I know that works. And so that's what I'm doing. So right now I've switched to adding thread behind my layers. What you see there for my layers is pieces of pattern paper from the Cocoa Vanilla Studios kit. I don't know why that's so hard for me to say today. I do have some of the little, I guess they're vellum pieces that came in one of the ephemera kits, and then let's see what else. Some of the flare buttons, and I did end up cutting one of the cut apart papers. I cut out something because I wanted a little more orange in there, and that orange color is throughout the collection, but there isn't, either I didn't buy it or there isn't like just a plain peach page or anything that's just plain peach like that. No pattern papers that have a big blob of that in there that I could use. So I grabbed some of the cut apart pieces and used some of that to get that behind my, as a layer. So now you can see I'm just adding all the little bits and bobs, using some staples, using my glue, and I end up walking away and coming back and going, I really like the All Smiles. I like the title, but it looks like it's just sitting there and it needs something behind it. And so I'll fix that in a little bit. Right now I'm just kind of trying to, I knew from the very beginning I wanted to use that frame that you saw just pop up there, and I am going to use that. And there's some stuff here that I've glued down that you're going to see me pull up later. I really struggled with this one. Part of it I think is because I haven't really had opportunities to play with lip paper lately, and it's just been killing me, but I don't know if you know this, but I'm a teacher, and I've actually been out of teaching, and I've been doing instructional coaching, and I'm back in the classroom this year, and it's the best decision I ever made, but it's a lot of work, and so I've just been really overwhelmed with work things, and so I just haven't had enough time to just play with paper, and so I'm kind of out of practice. So I think that's why it took me so long to make this, but I really like the end result. So what you're seeing me add here, I do end up adding some stuff up there in the corner that I think I do off camera because, like I said, I had multiple things that happened while I was making this, and one of the things was my camera shut off while I was creating, and I didn't realize that it shut off until I'd already added a whole bunch of things, and I couldn't really go back and redo that. So I'm pulling from the puffy stickers. I'm pulling from the, oh, that's the chipboard. I got the frame from that, the chipboard. I think it's a 6x12 sheet. So I used the sticker sheet. I used the enamel dots. I used the flare. I used some of the die cuts. I use a lot of this collection, and I really like all the colors. It's just beautiful. So I still haven't fixed my title yet, have I? So I must have done all of this first and then come back in and fix my title. So I got, oh yes, I got a lot of this like placed and a lot of my embellishing done. And then I walked away, probably went to go fix supper or something, and I came back and I was like, oh, well, this isn't going to do. So I just peeled that up and then added some splatters. And when I did that, I got some really big splatters in places that I didn't really want it. That's okay. I cover that up later, you'll see. Added some orange. And it didn't take much, but it's still not quite what I wanted. So I found this perfectly colored, and I have no idea where I got it, people. I'm sorry, I have no idea. This, I have a couple different washies that is in that same exact color. So I've been using this washi tape, ripping it in half, and using it to make kind of a line that goes underneath the word smiles and across to the other side of the frame. And then a little bit up there in the corner. You can't see that very well because, like I said, I'm out of practice and that's all off camera. But you can see I did add some splatters up there in the corner, and then I do add some embellishments up there, and you'll get to see that in the final product. So now I'm just adding a whole bunch of these. There's a whole bunch of word strips or phrase strips And see how I covered that up? Perfect. So I covered up that big blue blob. There was another big blue blob because I think my ink is old or something. So it was clogging up, and I covered up there. I'm adding it to the other side there, the washi. I covered up another big blue blob up in the upper right corner that you can't see because it's off camera. And there's the final product. I really like how this turned out. Here come the close-ups. I hope that you can play along with us with paper issues this month. All you need to do is get messy and then cut it up. Use a die cut machine, use your scissors, or use punches like I did. Add it to a project and share it with us in the Paper Issues Friends and Fans group. We are excited to see what you make with us. Thanks. See you soon.